Kolejna prezentacja będzie dotyczyła oferty właśnie tej, która czeka na nas w Brukseli w ramach programu ramowego badań i innowacji Unii Europejskiej Horyzont Europa. Program ten już wystartował od początku tego roku i już mamy za sobą ogłoszenie pierwszych konkursów. Ja chciałbym tylko powiedzieć, odnosząc się też do sytuacji na Mazowszu, że jest to już 9. program ramowy Unii Europejskiej, więc w ramach budżetu Unii rzeczywiście około 6-10% dedykowane jest właśnie na taki program. Tam nie ma kopert krajowych, tam musimy po prostu razem z naszymi partnerami z innych krajów przygotować najlepsze projekty i wygrać, tak? No i mamy tu ogromny sukces Mazowsza w perspektywie właśnie ostatniej Horyzontu 2020, gdzie Mazowsze pozyskało prawie 50% całego dofinansowania, które przypadło dla Polski, tak? Ale właśnie ubolewaliśmy nad jedną sprawą z panem dyrektorem i z panem marszałkiem, że to głównie właśnie Warszawa i aglomeracja warszawska, prawda? Dalej jest znikomy udział, więc w każdym województwie mamy tutaj duże wyzwania, jeśli chodzi o Horyzont Europa. To jest temat, proszę państwa, również synergii, tak? To jest temat również wykorzystania przy budowaniu naszej strategii B+R w przedsiębiorstwie, wykorzystania zarówno środków regionalnych, jak i środków centralnych, krajowych i w odpowiednim momencie wyjścia na Europę, tak? W odpowiednim momencie, kiedy będziemy mieli tą masę krytyczną, żeby konkurować już i rzeczywiście z naszymi technologiami wchodzić. Horyzont Europa to jest Liga Mistrzów, tam wygrywają najlepsi, tam mamy kontakty, tam mamy, proszę państwa, promocję, dostęp do rynku, wszystko, co przedsiębiorstwom jest potrzebne. Dlatego w ramach projektu Innovation Coach, mówiąc o potencjalnych źródłach finansowania rozwoju innowacyjnego przedsiębiorstw, mówimy o programach krajowych, mówimy o węglu, mówimy też o programach regionalnych, ale zwracamy uwagę, że cały czas mamy tą ścieżkę w tej Lidze Mistrzów, czyli w horyzoncie Europa. Jest to bardzo duża zachęta, dlatego że w horyzoncie 2020 udało nam się jako Polsce praktycznie podwoić uzyskane dofinansowanie w stosunku do 7. programu ramowego. Więc mamy przetarte szlaki, mamy historię sukcesu, które też dzisiaj w czasie konferencji będziemy prezentować. Proszę państwa, i w ten sposób chciałbym przejść do ostatniej prezentacji. Jaka jest oferta programu Horyzont Europa dla innowacyjnych przedsiębiorstw?
And then the second point is about the priorities. If we come to the next slide, we have four overarching objectives for the first 4 years. I would ask you please to kindly present the next slide. Yeah, so here are the 4 strategic orientations which will guide our investment priorities. So we find them in the work program, but also the way we expect projects to orient their proposals. And this is then also very relevant for the selection in the evaluation process. This is a lot of words, so what you need to remember, and I ask you please click on the slides again, is you need to remember 4 simple priorities. Please click again. So it's strategic, open, autonomy. So that is what we need in order to be a sovereign European Union in a hyper-connected global world. Open. Next, please click again. The next is restoring ecosystems. This is repairing the damages we have done to the planet, restoring the ecosystems which are so important for us to be prosperous. Third, it's sustainable economy. Please click again. It's everything which is circular, sustainable, and working in the economy. And the fourth one is perhaps less intuitive, but it's very important actually, that it's about inclusive, please click again on the slide, inclusive, democratic, and a resilient society. And if you look at industrial policy, what we do note is that wherever there is a deindustrialization in a region, it weakens the the participation, and it weakens the democracy in that region. So this is relevant also for our investment programs, particularly as regards industry. So these are the 4 strategic orientations you should have in mind when engaging in a European project. So let's look at the second strategy to be successful in the next slide, and we come to the overall structure of Horizon Europe, which might look complex at the beginning, but it is not. And we look at the first slide, and the next slide, please. And I'm sure many of you have seen that before. It's an overview. Next slide, please. It's an overview. Thank you. It's an overview of the Horizon Europe program, which is, after all, a 7-year program, 90 billion euros. And if you click once more, if you're not interested in sorry. No, we need to go back again. I thought we could fly in, fly out, but it doesn't seem to work. So if you're not interested in defense, you can get rid of the left column. And if you're not interested in nuclear fusion or fission, you can get rid of the right column. And then if you're not in the business of fundamental blue sky research, the first pillar on excellent science is also not for you. And then you are with 2 main elements of Horizon Europe, 2 structural elements. So what we call Pillar 2, global challenges and European industrial competitiveness, and innovative Europe. And I'll come to that later in the next point when we look at how to find your way in this. So this is the entry point. Pillar 2 is basically about collaborative projects, which are very important for an ecosystem. And Pillar 3 also has more short-term projects and also single company funding. So let's come to my third point, third strategy, which is about selecting the appropriate instrument. So thank you. Next slide, please. I'll start with collaborative projects. And here you see the thematic priorities, what we call clusters. And this is all the Pillar 2 you've seen in the previous slide. And you see the budget figures associated with it, quite impressive. But we're talking here about substantial support, financial support from the European Union over these 7 years. And perhaps from an industrial point of view, the digital industry and space cluster is particularly relevant, but health industry is very important. Everything to do with climate, energy, mobility, but also food and bioeconomy has a direct relevance for industry. So I see, and security, of course, as well. I see opportunities, and you'll find that quite obviously in all these circles here, which are clusters under Horizon Europe. Let's look at the next slide. And this gives you an example of the cluster of industry, so digital industry and space, which we have broken down in 6 destinations, where you see here what we want to achieve. So this would be the sphere, not the sphere of control, but the sphere of influence. New manufacturing technologies, new construction technologies, but also new developments in photonics, data sharing. These are the priorities for the investments we do this year in 2021, have done so far, and next year, 2022, with the associated budget figures below. And let's go to so I trust that you find this quite relevant for your respective fields of activity. Let's go to the next slide, please. And this is a new possibility we have under Horizon Europe. This is particularly targeted at countries which do not participate at the average level in Horizon Europe projects. So any project which we have selected under Horizon Europe so far, and will select in future, which does not include a partner from one of the widening countries. So these are all the member states which joined the EU after 2003, so including Croatia, the latest member state joined, but also Greece and Portugal. If none of these member states is represented with an entity in one of these projects we have selected, this particular scheme can come in and bring you in as a project partner into this project with additional funding. So it's attractive for you as much as it is attractive for the already project. So I would suggest that you have a close look at this scheme, and you see here there's also quite considerable funding associated, and providing excellent opportunities to join one of these collaborative projects. And next slide, please. Yes, I cannot not mention Horizon missions. This is really one of the key new elements in our program, where we want nothing less. The ambition is nothing less than starting a new way of doing science and innovation with a new form of societal engagement and commitment. So using the dynamics of what are priorities by citizens, by local communities, and going well beyond a single program, being it at European level. You had spoken about the regional funds before, so regional funds, but also local, national funds joining forces. And the way we want to do it, and we are doing it, is that we have, after wide public consultation, identify these 5 areas you see here on the slide as the missions we want to achieve with very concrete targets. Let me just mention, for instance, on climate and neutral cities. We want to have by 2030 100 cities in Europe which are carbon neutral, so climate neutral, and that these cities serve as a role model for all other cities to make this transition. The call for expression of interest to become part of one of these 100 first cities is open now until end January. Could be something interesting. There is a very important role for industry in this dimension. This is just one example. Missions are very important tool with collaborative projects, as I presented in before in Pillar 2. So let's now come to another dimension, which is also new, the European Innovation Council, which I think we will also discuss in more detail in your conference today. The next slide, please. And here you see what we aim with that. The insight is that we do not have enough disruptive innovation which really explores and exploits new market potential, most often with breakthrough technologies. So we want to create a new ecosystem with fast growing companies in all fields of technology and the economy, and create an innovation community, a European innovation ecosystem with this specific funding instrument. And in the next slide, I will show you very briefly the 3 instruments we have for this Innovation Council. So it is actually a bit like like a development cycle of a new product or service. So the Pathfinder is starting with rather low level of technology when you have an idea and you need to bring it to the next level. And it's emerging technologies, new stuff, really new stuff, breakthrough potential for breakthrough, where you have small consortia. It's still collaborative, but small and with fast upgrading. You have the transition instrument, which is helping you if you're already a bit more advanced to make the next step to the market. But then, this is really a new element, the accelerator instrument, which is single company funding and blended funding. So you get support from us in a grant, like a classical one, but at the same time we offer equity. So we take a share in your startup, in your company, and we are quite a patient equity shareholder and allow you to develop and go big. This is quite, if you think of the role of the European Commission, quite a new ambitious endeavor and instrument, which has already shown its effect. And we have taken the first examples in the health sector, for instance, with very promising startups, health sector where Europe is particularly strong. So, and very briefly, the last slide, and then I come to my conclusion. So the next slide, please. You see just a recap of these three instruments, how they're run, and what the main characteristics are. So this is a very important opportunity for you to connect, but also then to grow big yourself under the accelerator program. And the way you apply, you see that at the end of the slide here, the way you apply to that is quite new as well. It's all the opposite of bureaucratic, and we provide you also for the selected programs, projects, we provide special support and coaching and business contacts. So quite attractive. I think it's time to conclude, and I would like to do that with my last slide and a more general comment. No, I'm not yet ready. Oops, we still have engagement with partners. Sigmund, do I still have 2 minutes? Yeah. Okay. I'll hurry up. Apologies. This is very important. Next slide, please. Engaging with partners. This is an overview of our partnerships we have under Horizon Europe. And these are all run by associations or own legal entities, which are accessible. So if you think you are active in one of these fields, be it aviation or key digital technologies, or manufacturing, or in your process industry, contact these partnerships. It's easy to access. They offer particular interest because there you can have an influence on the programming of Horizon Europe in the coming years on an agreed long-term strategic research and innovation agenda. Next slide, please, also on engaging. It's a bit of a different level, but quite important actually. You can become a European Horizon Europe evaluator. Quite simply, click here on this link, work as an expert. And this gives you also, I mean, it's very important for us to have you with your expertise to select the right projects, but it gives you also quite unique insight in what is happening, what is fresh, what is new, what is happening in the funding landscape. And now I really come to the conclusion. Thanks for your patience. You see the changing role and position of Europe in the world more generally. So our share in terms of GDP was always quite big. Scientific publication was big, but we are in the 90s still, but this is radically changing. Our relative share is decreasing, and we can only play the role we want to play and keep our sovereignty, our independence, if we are strong as a union do that together, for instance, in the field of research innovation, where we have a wonderful history of cooperation with great successes. And my wish is that you play a very, very strong role in that overall research and innovation system here in Europe. Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you, Peter, for very comprehensive presentation, showing us the philosophy of the Horizon Europe, but also concrete instruments. It is very good news that the European Commission and the member states agreed to use really the whole potential of all European countries, introducing, for example, HOPON instruments or the additional selection criteria for proposal based on geographical diversity. It is a real collaborative approach. Thank you very much. And I think your presentation was very interesting for about 300 participants of our conference observing us online. So we are waiting now for the evaluation results for the first course in Horizon Europe. Do you have any news about it?
Yeah, we have the first results, and it's very encouraging. So we have a strong interest. We keep in quite some fields very high level of interest across Europe. And I don't have precise figures at this point in time, but we do see also very good interest from Poland, and I would like that it stays like that.
Okay, thank you very much, and keep in touch. For us, it's very important, as for the country, to increase our participation in Horizon Europe. Thank you very much, Peter, once again.
Thank you, Zygmunt. Thank you to all of you. Thanks for having me.
Proszę Państwa, zakończyliśmy pierwszą sesję. Jak widzicie Państwo, każda firma musi patrzeć kompleksowo na te możliwości, które są zarówno w kraju, w regionie, jak i w Europie, dlatego że te wszystkie instrumenty są finansowane po prostu z naszych podatków. I proszę Państwa, nie możemy mieć żadnych kompleksów. Czekamy rzeczywiście na wyniki, jak się polskie firmy zaprezentowały w pierwszych konkursach Horyzontu Europa, ale po tych sygnałach, które uzyskaliśmy w Horyzoncie 2020, myślimy, że też tutaj będzie się rozwijał ten pozytywny scenariusz. Proszę Państwa, bardzo dziękuję wszystkim naszym prelegentom za udział w sesji otwarcia. Panu dyrektorowi Tadeuszowi Borczyńskiemu, dyrektorowi Instytutu Podstawowych Problemów Techniki Polskiej Akademii Nauk. Bardzo dziękujemy za wsparcie pana dyrektora bezpośrednie dla prowadzenia tego projektu Innovation Culture, współpracy z Ministerstwem Funduszy i Polityki Regionalnej. Mamy zapewnione bardzo dobre warunki, świetne biuro, które czeka na Państwa, no ale te warunki pandemiczne niestety jeszcze nas ograniczają. W bardzo dobrym miejscu jest to przy rondzie Daszyńskiego. Bardzo dziękujemy panu dyrektorowi Wajdzie. Tak, i liczymy tutaj na mocną współpracę w tym nowym otwarciu Mazowsza z naszym projektem. I bardzo jeszcze raz dziękujemy panu ministrowi Jackowi Żalkowi, który właśnie będzie odpowiadał za te instrumenty, za program FENK i jego finalne wynegocjowanie i później wdrażanie, jak również Peterowi Droellowi za pokazanie nam tego wymiaru europejskiego. Proszę Państwa, czas przedstawić i podziękować partnerom naszej konferencji, a są to Narodowe Centrum Badań i Rozwoju i Polska Agencja Rozwoju Przedsiębiorczości, Krajowa Izba Gospodarcza i Centrum Kreatywności Targowa, Polska Izba Gospodarcza Zaawansowanych Technologii, Związek Pracodawców Klastry Polskie i oczywiście wszystko pod patronatami zarówno pana ministra Funduszy i Polityki Regionalnej, jak i pana marszałka Adama Struzika, marszałka województwa mazowieckiego. Proszę Państwa, bardzo dziękuję za uwagę.